What are some of the most rampant crimes criminals are doing today? Let's find out, starting with number 6, flash mobs. A wave of flash robberies has struck Southern California, leaving high-end retailers and department stores vulnerable. These flash robberies involve a group of thieves overwhelming store employees and security before making a quick getaway. One incident occurred at a Nordstrom rack in Riverside, where a group of 6 thieves targeted designer handbags, making off with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. The Nordstrom rack was hit twice in one summer, first in July and again in August. Surveillance footage from the first mob shows a group of men and women entering the store and immediately heading for the handbag section. They snatched the bags from display shelves and ripped off security lock devices before finally taking off. In another incident at a Macy's store in downtown LA, a group of at least 5 thieves ransacked the store, loading designer perfume bottles into trash bags. Then, in Glendale, 3 women were arrested for stealing approximately $30,000 worth of designer handbags from another store. These flash robberies have become a recurring problem in California. In one incident, over 30 thieves overran a YSL store in Glendale, making off with an estimated $300,000 worth of merchandise. Luxury denim stores, Nike outlets, and Gucci boutiques have also been targeted, often resulting in losses exceeding $100,000. While some arrests have been made in connection with these flash robberies, a zero-cash bail policy has gotten in the way of law enforcement's ability to curb the rise in such crimes. The policy allows people that are arrested and charged with crimes to be released without paying anything up front. In response to this crime spree, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass said that these aren't victimless crimes, emphasizing the need for safety while shopping in the city and opening businesses without fear. Law enforcement agencies announced the establishment of a new task force to address flash mobs in Southern California. It's a problem that local authorities are working hard to combat, but the impact on Cali's reputation as a travel destination remains to be seen. Let us know what you think in the comments. And remember the days when a flash mob just meant a bunch of people doing a choreographed dance in random places? People seemed a lot happier back then, didn't they? Number 5, smashed and grabbed. An all too familiar scene unfolded at a San Francisco beach, where several groups of tourists fell victim to a smash and grab that left them without their belongings, including without their passports. Some unfortunate European tourists got a nice San Francisco welcome as their vacations were interrupted when their cars were ransacked, all in a 10-minute window. Among the affected visitors was a group from Malta, who were on only their second day in San Francisco. The experience, of course, made them consider cutting their trip short and returning to Europe. The aftermath of these crimes was captured on video. The footage depicted the vandalized trucks of the tourists' cars and shattered glass thrown across the ground. The victims lost everything they'd brought with them, from passports and cameras to phones, iPads, laptops, and luggage. The smash and grab happened at the northernmost tip of Ocean Beach in San Francisco, further displaying the city's escalating crime rates. While some viewers seemed to feel bad for the victims, others questioned the wisdom of tourists choosing to visit a city that's becoming known more for its ballooning crime rate rather than its bridge. San Francisco has been grappling with a surge in car break-ins in 2023. Criminals have adopted a strategy in which they swiftly smash car windows and make a quick getaway, often targeting multiple parked vehicles in a single day. Despite the presence of warnings posted throughout the city advising residents and tourists not to leave valuables in their cars, the crime rate has remained stubbornly high. Neighborhoods frequented by tourists have reported some of the highest rates of car break-ins. In response to the ongoing issue, City Supervisor Dean Preston has called for a hearing involving city officials, the police, and other relevant departments to address the problem collectively. However, the effectiveness of law enforcement in resolving these crimes has been a subject of concern, with arrest rates for car break-ins dwindling to under, get this, 1%. Isn't it kind of ironic that a city that was once known for having the toughest prison in the US is now known for its rampant crime? Number 4, Carjacked. And it's not just smash and grabs. Entire vehicles are just getting taken out in the open. A group of tourists in San Francisco found themselves thrown from their vehicle as they tried to thwart a robbery. The incident was captured on video and shows the escalating issue of vehicle break-ins and thefts plaguing San Francisco. The incident occurred when Dmitry Koval, along with his friends, had parked their two vans at the Fort Mason Center in the Marina District of San Francisco. They had hoped to enjoy the scenic beauty and get something to eat, but their plans took a terrifying turn when a black SUV pulled up next to one of the vans. These two guys quickly jumped out of the SUV, breaking into Koval and his friends' vans, and started grabbing their stuff. The victims watched in shock as their bags were thrown into the black SUV, so Koval's friends sprang into action and attempted to stop the thieves. However, bystanders cautioned them, worrying the guys might be armed. Despite the warning, Koval's friends continued their pursuit. One of them grabbed the driver's side window and tried to take control of the wheel, while another grappled with the suspect sitting in the passenger seat. In a desperate bid to stop the getaway, they used crutches to shatter the windshield. However, the thief at the wheel pushed the gas down, throwing one of Koval's friends onto the pavement, where he sustained severe injuries. The vehicle continued to speed away, with another victim clinging to the passenger side before he was thrown from the moving SUV. The thieves escaped, having made off with approximately $10,000 worth of cash, laptops, documents, and passports. The incident left Koval and his friends traumatized, and they questioned the safety of even visiting San Francisco. This incident demonstrates the rampant issue of vehicle break-ins and thefts in the city, a problem so common that it's earned the nickname bipping and boosting. And that attempt to stop the robbery could have gone real sideways real fast. Please remember that items and cash can be replaced, but your life can't. Number 3, a little too good to be true. A young student in Australia got caught in a nightmare after he thought he had found a great deal on Facebook Marketplace. Umair Ishfaq is a native Pakistani man living in Perth. He shelled out $6,500 in cash for a 2018 Holden Astra so he could kickstart his career as an Uber driver. The deal was incredible, since typically that car sells for over $17,000. Just 5 days after making the cash payment, the worst possible scenario unfolded. Late at night, a dreaded knock on his door came. It was Western Australian police officers who arrived to deliver some bad news. His recently purchased car was, in fact, stolen. Mr. Ishfaq was shocked and tried to explain that he had all the proper documentation, including a personal property securities register report, which confirmed his ownership. However, the police insisted the car had been stolen, and they promptly impounded it. This unfortunate incident is a reminder to all of us. Beware of deals that seem too good to be true. The lesson here is crystal clear. If you come across a deal that appears too good to be true, exercise extreme caution. Even after Ishfaq performed all necessary checks, including verifying the vehicle's history, the sale ended up being bogus. While online marketplaces can offer genuine deals, they can also be hotspots for scams. Trust your instincts, and if something feels off, like a good car that's listed way below market value, it's better to walk away from the deal rather than to be scammed. Do you have any stories of deals too good to be true that actually turned out amazing for you? Let us know in the comment section. Number 2, skimming right off the top. French-Brazilian tourist Douglas da Silva Rangel ran a sophisticated ATM skimming scam that scammed ATM customers out of almost $78,000. Rangel had installed skimming devices inside the card readers of ATMs, making them exceptionally difficult to detect compared to external skimmers. These devices secretly harvested card information, which Rangel then used to clone their stolen cards. Adding another layer to the scheme was small cameras were discreetly placed near the ATMs to capture unsuspecting customers entering their PIN numbers. This approach allowed Rangel to swiftly gather sensitive data, all within seconds. Law enforcement, through extensive surveillance, eventually caught Rangel in the act as he attempted to withdraw cash using fake ATM cards. Upon searching his house, police uncovered $22,100 in cash, 5 ATM skimming devices, fake ATM ceiling panels with concealed cameras, as well as blank iTunes gift cards. During the legal proceedings, Rangel claimed that he committed these offenses to support his son and ex-girlfriend, who both live overseas, with the ex suffering from a brain injury. But he confessed to actually using the stolen funds to buy a BMW. What makes this case even more insane is that Rangel attempted to run the scam again while out on bail, leading to his rearrest. He must have really wanted to support that ex. So he got himself a 3.5-year prison sentence with the possibility of parole after serving 7 months. To avoid falling victim to such scams, it's always a good idea to take money out from inside bank branches. While random ATMs offer convenience, the scam is so prevalent that really any ATM outside of the bank puts you at risk. And for a deeper dive into one of the largest ATM scams ever, stay right here on this video about the Maya Riviera gang. Number 1. Spotlighting San Francisco. And we're back in San Francisco again. A prominent news reporter became the victim of a group of teenagers who tried to steal his bike. It all went down in the Presidio National Park area near the iconic Golden Gate Bridge on a weekend afternoon. Dan Noyles, an award-winning investigative reporter for ABC's 7 Bay Area, was enjoying a bike ride when he encountered a large group of roughly 15 teenagers. As he approached the group, one of the teenagers suddenly rushed him. The impact sent Noyes crashing to the ground, injuring his left elbow. But instead of giving in to the would-be thief, Noyes quickly got back on his feet, determined to protect his property. He chased after the teenager who had attempted to steal his bike, and in a moment of quick thinking, threatened to expose the incident on Channel 7 News. Turns out that worked, and the teenagers scattered in different directions. The incident left Noyes hospitalized with a large bruise on his left elbow and a head fracture. He also captured video footage of the teenagers fleeing the scene, revealing the brazen nature of the robbery attempt. What's particularly concerning about these incidents is that they reflect a broader trend of rising crime and deteriorating safety in San Francisco. As San Francisco faces these challenges, it raises the question, is the city still worth visiting for tourists? The allure of its iconic landmarks, cultural attractions, and scenic beauty is undoubted. But the growing concerns about crime may make travelers think twice about planning a trip to the city by the bay. Romanian gang leader Florian Tudor and his trusted associate Sorinel Constantine Marcu feared their organization would be dismantled after journalist Brian Krebs wrote a 3-part investigative series detailing their criminal operations on his blog. According to the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, the OCCRP, Tudor's organization controlled at least 10% of a $2 billion annual global market for skimmed cards. After running the scam reliably for years, Krebs' article threatened to cost Tudor millions. Florian Tudor, like most gang leaders, is a man who's unafraid of violence, didn't take kindly to being exposed. Tudor wanted revenge, and Marcu was the man who could make it happen. Shortly after the publication, an ominous message from an address tied to a Romanian hacker appeared in Krebs' inbox. It said, quote, "Don't worry, we are coming for you. You and your wife, all is matter of time, amigo." The Riviera Maya gang, led by Florian Tudor, originated in Craiova, Romania, thousands of miles from the tourist hotspot of the Riviera Maya in Mexico. Around 1,000 members were a part of the sophisticated operation. They captured bank card data by installing skimmers on ATMs and hacking into well-known manufacturers' machines to install their custom-designed software. Tudor was a businessman and would spend his profits on luxury apartments in his Romanian hometown, using the money from the gang's profits. Gang members referred to him as El Tiburon, or the Shark. The gang's leader had a murky past, and there are conflicting reports about his life before the Riviera Maya gang. Tudor was born in Craiova, Romania, and became involved in crime at a young age, although he had a clean criminal record. The details of any of his earlier crimes are unknown. When Tudor was in Italy, authorities took him into custody and ultimately deported him, although, again, the details of those charges were unclear. While details about Tudor may be cloudy, one thing is clear. Tudor knew how to run advanced and carefully planned scams. The gang made money from ATM skimming, which involves stealing credit card information by putting a skimming device on an ATM. The device reads inserted credit and debit cards as magnetic stripes, which enables criminals to put the card information on cloned credit and debit cards. Once they've created the cloned cards, they could make purchases and withdraw money while the original card owner was blissfully unaware. What's the easiest way for consumers to discover that their information has been stolen? To make big purchases or withdrawals immediately. immediately, thus causing the bank to call the victim and inquire about the charges. Tudor knew that to get away with a heist of this size, he'd have to move slowly and smartly. Not only did the Riviera Maya gang wait months before they withdrew any money from the compromised cards, they also stole small amounts of money. They withdrew $200 from each card, making it far less noticeable to their victims. The operation had many ways to hide the root location of their crimes. When they finally used the stolen card information, they would have members in different countries go to ATMs far from the Riviera Maya region of Mexico and nowhere near where the victims lived. The gang employed skimmers and pullers who operated in places like India, Barbados, Grenada, Paraguay, Indonesia, Brazil, Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, making it even harder for victims to pinpoint the location of the theft. To seem more legitimate, Tudor and his stepbrother, Adrian Anaescu, set up Top Life Servicios, a Cancun-based company where they could hide their criminal activities. They quickly realized they would run more effectively if they operated their own ATMs. The group purchased machines from well-known manufacturers such as Hyosung and Triton, hacked their processors, and installed custom-designed software to steal people's information without any extra hardware. Now, all the gang needed was placement and credibility. According to the OCCRP, Maltiva, a well-respected Mexican bank, began its business relationship with Top Life Servicios in 2014, an agreement that benefited both parties. Maltiva wanted to branch out into the Riviera Maya area of the Yucatan Peninsula's Caribbean coast. Top Life Servicios wanted to appear as legitimate as possible, and sponsorship from a bank with name recognition printed on the side of their ATMs was exactly what was needed. Despite some red flags, Maltiva continued working with the company. Since local governments weren't enforcing any of the regulations, there was no reason to worry about any silly things like licenses or paperwork. The agreement with Maltiva covered the entire Riviera Maya area, where millions of tourists flock annually to Playa del Carmen, Tulum, and Cancun. Top Life installed their ATMs in hotels, restaurants, boardwalks, and beaches throughout the region and installed the machines without permission from any local governments. By 2017, Top Life operated over 100 Maltiva-branded ATMs, which copied roughly 1,000 cards every month. While the gang only withdrew small amounts of $200 from each card, their monthly income was $20 million. With so much money coming in, the gang had to account for it without raising suspicion. The OCCRP reported that from early 2014 until spring 2019, the criminal network was making $240 million annually and an estimated overall total of around $1.2 billion. In fact, the Riviera Maya gang controlled at least 10% of the $2 billion annual global market for skimmed cards. They concealed their profits through money laundering, using front companies, and purchasing luxury real estate. The shell companies had little or no actual business operations and were a vehicle for the gang to move money across the world. A network of cash mules helped physically transport large sums of money across borders. They traveled in small groups and used different modes of transportation to avoid detection at border crossings while carrying up to $200,000 in cash. Once the money reached its destination, members would deposit it into multiple bank accounts or use it to purchase high-value assets. Gang members also sent associates in countries like the United States cash via Western Union. The recipients would buy luxury goods like high-end cars and Rolex watches that they would resell for clean money. Tudor's Romanian wife, Rebecca Tudor, was the sole shareholder of a construction company called Redizat, which they used to launder the proceeds from the scheme. Her job was to receive the large sums of cash deposits that mules were carrying and put them into the company, where she would use the money to pay for construction projects, equipment, and materials. Rebecca was using the construction company for a range of projects, such as transforming an ex-government building in Craiova into a luxury apartment complex. Tudor purchased the building with a shell company and transferred ownership to Rebecca. Rebecca used the cash she received from Tudor's associates to pay for the $2.2 million renovation work to the property. She paid workers and suppliers in cash, avoiding a paper trail. They sold the high-end apartments for $110,000 each when the work was over. The gang transferred the proceeds to offshore companies that Tudor controlled. In their efforts to be untraceable, the criminal group buried some of the stolen money, placing it in plastic bags and burying it in places like empty lots, backyards, and even cemeteries. Dealing with money in the States, however, was a different story. Banks often freeze accounts when a card is used overseas without any notification. To stop this from slowing the gang down, they needed to withdraw the money from ATMs located in the United States. Tudor enlisted the help of Filip Serdaru, a Romanian who immigrated to Canada in 1999 after being persecuted in his home country. He was an expert in helping fellow Romanians across the U.S. border, having smuggled at least 295 people from Mexico into the U.S. in 2012 and 2013 alone. Serdaru would fly people into Cancun, the location of the Riviera Maya gang's headquarters, with at least one corrupt immigration agent. They were put on buses to travel to border cities like Tijuana, Mexicali, Ciudad Miguel Alman, where they would stay in hotel rooms rented by the gang. Mexican guides would bring Serdaru's people across the border on foot. Serdaru and his associates made roughly $2,200 for each person they brought across the border. A group of Eastern European men offered an ATM technician $6,000 to install Bluetooth skimming devices in the ATMs. The technician contacted Brian Krebs, a former Washington Post journalist specializing in internet security crimes. The gang planted Bluetooth skimming devices in many of their ATMs, making it even harder to detect them. When Krebs traveled to Mexico, he discovered that many ATMs had a Bluetooth link called Free to Move. The crime syndicate bribed and coerced ATM technicians to install the Bluetooth skimmers and paid technicians to compromise machines at competing ATM providers. The scheme essentially gained them control over Instacash, another Mexican-based ATM company. Krebs wrote a 3-part story on his blog, Krebs on Security, about ATM skimming and mentioned that an Eastern European gang was running the scam. The Instacash tech shared pictures of Instacash's chief deputies and screenshots of card data allegedly gained by the company's various skimming operations. The source was extremely scared for their safety, but stated that Tudor's gang was paying off Mexican authorities. Mexican police never followed up on Krebs' reporting, but the gang temporarily shut down their operations. A furious Tudor ordered members to temporarily extract chips from 10 of the ATMs they ran and 25 to 30 ATMs owned by other companies or banks. Tudor and his associates couldn't hide forever, and it was from within the gang's highest rankings that things began to implode. Constantine Sorinel Marcu was one of Tudor's most trusted men and his former bodyguard, but their friendship was clouded by resentment. Tudor was jealous of Marcu's relationships with women, and Marcu felt he wasn't getting a high enough cut from the business. As tensions were rising, Marcu began sabotaging Instacash's operations by applying superglue to Instacash ATM's pin pads and card acceptance slots. At the same time, Tudor was paranoid that Marcu would go to the police and reveal the gang's entire operation. In June 2018, Marcu was driving in Cancun. One moment he was following a member of Tudor's crew, and the next he had lost his life because of a bullet. Details of Marcu's demise are unclear, though he was likely dispatched somewhere else and moved to his car. Marcu's car was parked in front of a new apartment complex built and paid for by Tudor. The news media narrative of what happened avoided placing any blame on Tudor or his gang. However, Marcu's brother, Aurelio Marcu, spoke out against the Mexican authorities. He claimed that Tudor was giving the police large sums of hush money. Mexican authorities helped spin the news media narrative over the crime to avoid generating too much attention. By that point, Tudor was working so closely with police in the area that he was practically in charge. But Tudor's connections couldn't save him when law enforcement finally became suspicious of his operation. Romanian authorities issued a court order for Tudor's arrest on charges of attempted murder and leading a criminal network involved in human trafficking. Tudor was unwilling to go down without a fight, and a physical confrontation broke out when Mexican authorities arrested him. Video footage of Tudor wrestling officials and screaming while they carried him out by his arms and his legs went viral. Police arrested some of Tudor's associates who allegedly tried to assault at least one police officer during the exchange. Maltiva claimed to have been entirely unaware of any scam carried out on their branded machines, despite Krebs on Security exposing the gang in September of 2015. Krebs detailed how the ATM industry and law enforcement were being bribed and coerced by Tudor's associates while Maltiva did nothing. The bank stated they hadn't dealt with unusual complaints and denied any knowledge of Instacash. Maltiva also said that they audited their machines, but that statement was likely untrue. Despite allegations of fraud and corruption involving Maltiva's branded machines, they continued working with Top Life for a considerable time. They even signed a new agreement with Maltiva in 2019 to provide ATMs for the bank's customers. Maltiva didn't end its relationship with Top Life until Tudor's arrest and extradition to Romania. They made a statement emphasizing that the bank wasn't involved in any illegal activity and that Maltiva was also a victim of the ATM fraud. The operation went much further than just the bank's involvement. Jorge de la Peña Ruiz de Chavez, the leader of Mexico's Green Party, was removed from office after being being accused of receiving money from the Romanian ATM skimming gang. The Mexican Ministry of Finance seized 79 bank accounts as part of their ongoing investigation into the criminal network, and one of those accounts belonged to De La Peña. He cooperated with authorities but denied any involvement in the group. De La Peña wasn't the only person to have their bank account frozen by the Mexican Ministry of Finance. Public figures like the former Secretary of Public Security of Cancun, Jose Luis Jonathan Young, his father, Jose Luis Young Cruz, former governors of Quintana Roo, the owner of the Quequi newspaper, Jose Alberto Gomez Alvarez, and the notary, Nain Diaz Medina, also lost access to their accounts during the investigation. In May 2020, the Mexican daily newspaper Reforma reported that Tudor and his associates enjoyed legal probation from a top anti-corruption official in the Mexican Attorney General's office. Florian Tudor is currently in a Mexican prison, fighting his extradition to Romania to face more charges. We've all heard about horror stories from vacationers visiting foreign countries. Tourists always seem like easy marks since they typically have large amounts of disposable cash ripe for the taking. The scary thing about the Maya Riviera gang was that legitimacy with which they operated. Their ATMs had a trusted brand, there was no evidence of tampering, and the sums being removed were relatively small, so they would escape notice. The lessons here are to use the chip readers whenever possible, since the skimmers copied the magnetic strip. Some also suggest setting up a separate travel account to limit the damage should your card become compromised. Even while Tudor is in custody, his businesses are as strong as ever, which begs the question, why continue risking jail time? Florian Tudor is reminiscent of Dr. Evil, not understanding that he's making plenty of money through legitimate means. At the end of the day, a shark is always going to be a shark. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comments section what you think is the worst city in the US.